Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nithi Razdan and we're coming to you live from Mumbai tonight, the first in our series of election specials where we're going to try and bring you a perspective from India's other cities outside of the national capital. Tonight, we'll get you the latest on the big political story in Delhi, the election manifesto that was released by the Congress party today with a heavy focus on welfare schemes and a pro-poor approach. The Congress party says that the party for the poor, but the question is whether it really represents the interests of the poor and whether the Congress has in fact abandoned the middle class. That will be our big debate. Also tonight, is Mumbai going to be able to do a Delhi and see a higher voter turnout in these polls? Is the AAP going to be a factor in the financial capital of India? That's our big debate with Milind Deora, Shaina NC, Chetan Bhagat, Medha Patkar, Bachchi Kakaria and others. But first, Sunil Prabhu brings you the highlights of the Congress manifesto that was released by Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and the Prime Minister in Delhi today, with promises from universal healthcare to building a national consensus on reservations in private sector jobs. The Congress says it is pro-poor, the BJP says it's a document of deceit, while Rahul Gandhi shot back that the India shining balloon that the BJP keeps talking about is one that is going to burst very soon.
One hears these days about Gujarat model. The Congress model is the model which recognizes that there is a need for an expanding economy to provide lasting solutions to the problems of poverty.
मोदी जी एक विचारधारा को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। वो विचारधारा हिंदुस्तान को नुकसान करने वाली विचारधारा है।
जिन लोगों के पास 125 करोड़ देशवासियों के सवालों के जवाब नहीं है, अपने पापों का हिसाब देने की हिम्मत नहीं है, वो अब सेक्युलरिज्म के खोखले झूठे नारे बोल करके देश के नौजवानों को गुमराह नहीं कर सकते।
Opinion polls, I frankly must admit I don't have much faith in them. If you remember, in 2004, the Congress was over, the story of the Congress was finished.
It is not a manifesto, but it is a document of deceit. The entire manifesto appears to be devoid of credibility, bereft of substance, and seriously lacking in seriousness.
Promises galore in the Congress manifesto, from the right to health to housing for low-income groups. The Congress party even promises to make 2/3 of India middle class. Clearly, the focus in the next few days will be on the campaigning and not on delivering the promises. But the focus and the big question is, will these be able to be delivered? With camera person Divan Singh, Sunil Prabhu, NDTV.
Well, the big question we're asking is whether the Congress is really a pro-poor party, whether it is more pro-poor than the BJP, and whether the Congress party has actually ended up abandoning the Indian middle class. Well, joining us first is Bachchi Kakaria, well-known journalist here in Mumbai. Shaina NC, spokesperson of the BJP, is with us. Medha Patkar, Aam Aadmi Party candidate from Mumbai Northeast, also joins us. We'll be joined by Milind Deora and Chetan Bhagat as well shortly. Let me first ask Bachchi that, I think it was Khrushchev who actually said that politicians are the same all over, that they would promise to build a bridge even when where there's no river. So in that context, do you think people even care about manifestos today? That's my first basic question. Do the parties care? Do the voters care? Because obviously a lot of thought does go into a manifesto, but does anyone pay attention to them?
I think it's important to have a manifesto because at least in theory it shows the direction in which the party wants to go. But the tragedy really today is that you can clearly shuffle up the items in different manifestos and really not know whose manifesto is which. Because for a long, long time now, the kind of ideologies which separated parties have completely disappeared. And there is very, very much now a uniformity in promises, and I'm afraid also uniformity in non-deliverables. So ultimately it will be about how they deliver, and I think the manifesto also needs to give a very clear-cut idea as to how all these grandiose schemes are going to actually work on the ground. As you've seen, every party has got these pet phrases: pro-poor, development, corruption,
more jobs.
More jobs. So everybody, I mean, there's a wish list that's common to everybody, but it has to go beyond the wish.
Shaina, in terms of, do you get a sense that, in a sense, the AAP has also been a game changer in the way that it's made other parties think about how to make this a more participative process? I know many of you will say that we've always been participative, but maybe it's just shaken up things a bit. And you know, you have the Congress today asking for feedback. Is the BJP doing the same?
But I don't think that AAP is some model that one really needs to go by, because every single political party is asking different sections of society for their inputs. We're trying to implement them. And I think that, you know, we are not only interested in giving freebies and sops and gaining votes through a document which is only deceit and non-deliverable. You know, I'm amazed to see this Congress report today which says that we are planning to give so many crore jobs in the next 5 years. The biggest question is, what have they done vis-a-vis unemployment? They're talking about 1 trillion crores for infrastructure projects. Just in the state of Maharashtra and Mumbai, we have so many projects in the cold storage. By the time they're completed, they're 4 times the original cost. No accountability at all, no transparency. So are you just selling void dreams? I think it's important to say that today the biggest issue is women's security. It is definitely price rise, it is corruption, it is unemployment, it is infrastructure projects being completed. But the most important point is political will, because without that you're going to have all these papers suggesting that we will do this in 100 days. For example, the UPA talked about bringing black money back. What have they done about all the money stashed away abroad?
Okay,
it's
so you're saying that they're selling dreams. And these are unworkable. But as ideas, I'm sure you can't argue that, you know, healthcare for all, or housing for all, or pensions, those kind of schemes. You can't argue that in a country like that. On principle, that's a good thing.
But maybe also, I think that really what happens is that, you know, here in America you hear of the incumbent advantage, but in India it's always been very much the incumbent disadvantage. Because, you know, your record is right there for people to see. And over the years, since the past election to the current election, all kinds of things have happened, especially.
So if you make bigger promises,
and you make because you have to make those promises.
Okay.
You can't get away from it.
Let me just get Milind here, because he's joined us as well. Milind, the BJP says you're selling dreams through this manifesto, and one of the big questions that people will ask about this manifesto today is that while the Congress's heart may be in the right place with the right ideas, it doesn't seem to be very practical about what the schemes are in terms of where you will get the money from, how you will pay for these, and that these are very ambitious targets and goals. Yeah, get up.
Listen, it's in politics, it's for political parties and candidates. You have to sell a dream, but the dream has to be a realistic dream. When we inherited the government in 2004, and we spoke about how we're going to provide millions of people connectivity, when we spoke about how we're going to try and do our best to lift people out of the poverty line, when we said we're going to try and redirect subsidies so that we reduce the burden on the fiscal deficit. I'm not saying we achieved 100% results. No political party should claim and be arrogant to say that they're perfect and they have the best solutions. But I think we've done significantly well. When we inherited the government 10 years ago, we had 7 crore telephone connections in our country. Today we have 90 crore connections in our country. Every year for the last few years, we're taking 20 million people out of the poverty line. So these are certain things that we have changed in the last few years. When we came to power in 2004, a part of our manifesto was that we would bring RTI into this country. And 1 year into coming into power, 1 year, we immediately passed the RTI bill, even though BJP didn't even participate in that debate. So, you know, I do accept that all political parties have to sell out a vision. They have to sell a vision. They have to put forth a vision before the public. They have to explain what their intent is, more importantly. But ultimately, it has to be realistic. And I think we have at least embarked on a journey 10 years ago, which was from an economic vision point of view. We embarked on a journey 10 years ago,
my question
to move India from an exclusive economic vision to a much more inclusive economic vision, and we've done that in the last few days.
But then, how, you know, the criticism is that the Congress is focusing so much on welfare schemes. Yes, you're focusing on inclusive growth. the question is about funding, where the money will come from, and the criticism is that the manifesto doesn't really talk about how it's going to be able to increase that government spending. You've announced these schemes and that may be well intentioned, but where does the money come from? Milind.
But Nidhi, that was something which we were accused of in 2004 in our manifesto. I remember going on a TV discussion in 2004 when Vajpayee ji was Prime Minister of India, and when we said that we will take growth levels up in this country, and then we will get the money to spend for these schemes. And we have given India an average growth rate in the last 10 years of 7.7% as compared to 5.5% in the previous government. So look, we have the ability, experience, and we've provided the basic political stability which comes from social acceptability to run a government, to allow a government, two governments to last. The reason any other government before us haven't been able to last is because they don't have that social acceptability. And I think today, as we go forward to create an economic growth environment in our country which will get the government money to spend on these welfare schemes, most importantly, we need political stability. And I think what the error that maybe BJP has taken by projecting Mr. Narendra Modi is that an extreme party has projected its most extreme face, unlike with Mr. Vajpayee, who was still a more moderate face of an extreme party, and that allowed them to have a little more social acceptability, which, as I said, precedes political stability, which in turn precedes economic growth and economic sustainability. And that's something we've offered, we've delivered to people in the last 10 years, and I don't think other parties have the ability to do that.
Okay, Shaina, on the question of acceptability, and B, how do you shake off the tag that the Congress then appears to be more pro-poor? A perception, I'm talking about perception, and their accusation that you're pro-industry, pro-rich. The BJP is pro-rich and the Congress is pro-poor. How do you shake off that perception?
This is a perpetual perception versus reality battle. I want to understand what is this inclusive and what is exclusive. I mean, inclusive or exclusive, I mean, this is all terminology. When you're talking about development of a certain state or the country, you're talking about the electorate which represents every caste, community, culture, background, and you're not deciding that, oh, this person should be specially treated or appeased because this is a vote bank. I think we've seen enough of this in 60 years. We've seen a lot of appeasement politics. We clearly want to move beyond. And please, Narendra Modi's social acceptability is not going to be debated on a television show because that popularity is here to see. And I think May 16th will be a befitting reply to all his critiques who kind of suggest that, he is only for a certain segment of society. If you read the Sachar committee report, immediately you have a background check, you have a reality check on who is doing well in which part of the country. But I think the larger point which the Congress seems to completely dismiss is that we don't want to make a country and a nation of just subsidies and freebies and just keep on giving one lollipop after the other. We want to make a country which progresses, where everyone is economically empowered.
Is healthcare a lollipop?
Self-sustain.
Is healthcare a lollipop?
No, it isn't.
Or right to
healthcare is not. But if you're talking about, to try and suggest that we have given right to information, you've also given right to corruption. So I think you need to understand there are checks and balances.
Okay, Milind, I know you want to respond, but let me get Chetan Bhagat in here. Who's really more pro-poor? And do you get a sense that the Congress is not a pro-middle class party anymore? Because that's another debate that's going on in a parallel universe.
Well, I just skimmed through the manifesto a little bit, and I write fiction, so I can evaluate fiction well. Because, what comes to mind is, what were you doing for 10 years? Why weren't you doing these things? I mean, there is 1 trillion of infrastructure investment promised. There is, it's a good manifesto. As a document, it's good. Whoever's worked on it, it's not a bad document. But I think the biggest problem is convincing people that you will actually do this. And I think the best healing cure for the Congress would be to lose this election and really reflect on what really happened here. I think they've given out a good manifesto because they know they're not going to be able to implement it. But as a document, to give them credit, it's a good investment.
What's the most unreal part of it, according to you?
I think the unreal part is that they were in power for 10 years. So why didn't they do a 1 trillion investment? They talk about like retrospective taxes will not bother people, but then why were they bothering people in their rule? They still have time. They are still in power. So the fact is that anti-corruption bills will come in the next government, UPA 3. What about UPA 1 and 2? Why didn't they bring it then? I think it's going to be more an issue of it's not the text, it's not what's written there, that's the problem. It's all very good, obviously. But the bigger problem is the trust deficit that is there, which they have to probably start the manifesto with, we are really sorry, we made mistakes. And I think if they had done that, that would be a better way to do it.
Okay.
It's a good manifesto. I mean, but does it mean anything? Is it going to come true? I guess it's difficult.
Okay, so Milind, very cynical, skeptical reaction there from Chetan Bhagat, who says, how will you implement this? And my question to you is, why does one get the sense that the Congress has abandoned the middle class of this country? Your emphasis is on the welfare schemes, which is a great thing. But there is a large middle class. There are young people there looking for jobs, who are aspirational, who perhaps don't see the Congress as the party for them today.
Well, firstly, Chetan's a very, very close friend of mine, and I humbly disagree with him because, any party that's in power and is now going out to get re-elected has to obviously explain what they want to do and what the plan is ahead. So the easiest criticism is, why didn't you do that in the past? There's a lot that we've done in the past, but there's much more that we want to do in the future, and that's what a manifesto or a vision document's about. When someone spoke about, I don't understand what's inclusive growth. Inclusive growth means that in the past, only 0.7% of India who are below the poverty line were being alleviated from poverty. Under our leadership, 2.2% people have been brought out of poverty. Now that also has a huge ramification on the market, that has a huge ramification on industry. That means more people can consume and buy goods and services. That does better for industry, it does better for the stock market. So we have done a lot of things. I can narrate a whole host of things that we've done for youth with this National Skills Development Council in terms of connectivity with mobile and internet connectivity. There have been mistakes, I don't deny that.
Okay.
We could have done much better on certain areas, I don't deny that. No government should claim that they're perfect, and no government can claim that we are the best and we've done 100%. Only Mr. Narendra Modi can claim that. I think ultimately what really counts is you're talking about what you've done, and you're talking about what you intend to do, and that's what a manifesto should be seen as. It should be seen as an intent statement, a vision statement. It's about what we intend to do. But I still believe that the paradigm shift that happened in 2004 cannot be ignored. Before 2004, a large section of people were ignored. The middle class, those who are poor, we have brought them out of poverty line. That doesn't mean we're anti-industry. That doesn't mean we're anti the private sector. We want private sector growth. We want to create jobs in the private sector. We want the market to do well.
Let me just get Medha Patkar in.
To do very, very well. But we want to do it in a sustainable way. And the fundamental difference between us and between BJP is they lack the basics of economics in India, which is you need social acceptability for the macro picture to look good. And Mr. Modi is an extreme face and an extreme party, unlike Mr. Vajpayee. And that, I believe, if they ever come to power, that is going to hurt them considerably.